David Snelson Smith here with the RCM Green Room, and I got a question for you. What does Robert Cray, Vince Gill, Toto, and Colbie Caillat have in common? What's our next guest, Chad Jensen with Jensen Artist Management? You're going to want to find out, so don't go away. Chad Jensen, Artist Management, Jensen Artist Management, his own business of running and managing artists. Thanks for joining us, Chad. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Chad is my nephew. He's my oldest sister's firstborn son. And so let's just go through some of the history of what you've done. You started out, actually, I hired you with the first music company. Before that, you were a caddy, I believe, at a golf.
I was working at a golf course, and I had gone to Vegas for the summer with Laura, and I was working at a Sears for a while, hauling stuff out of the back room and loading it in people's cars. And, I'd applied for golf course jobs in Las Vegas, and, it was hot in Vegas, and I finally just said, I can't live here. And I drove home and...
Then I traded or used a favor chit. So with Arlene and Ron Gertz.
Right.
To allow you to do some music negotiations. And they hired you and you became a music negotiator.
A clearance administrator, is what they called it.
Right.
Where we were negotiating fees for music uses in TV and film. Right. And it was a really interesting job. I don't remember how long I held it, maybe a year. But had some interesting conversations. I got to call James Brown in jail. We had researched this obscure James Brown song that we needed to clear, and I called his attorney, and his attorney said, I don't know anything about this. You'll have to call James in jail. And I literally called James Brown in jail. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually played at his 60th birthday party in Augusta, Georgia, when he got out of jail. Yeah. That was quite an experience, and for another story. But dealing with the James Brown organization, I know that had to be entertaining.
It was something else. I mean, talking to a legend like that. Anyway, I tell that story a lot. Actually, it was pretty funny. It was a funny call. He was, Chad, I wrote that. I think I wrote it 100%.
That's right. Yeah.
I went after 4 years. I was, combined, and then I went to a smaller company that did the same thing that the clearinghouse did. Mm-hmm. It was called Media Rights, and went to work for someone named Melody Cerroti, real character.
I remember.
She was a real character, and there were only 4 of us who worked at the company. And she worked on big projects like Elvis documentaries and things that were released from the Prince vault. And we cleared the the Ed Sullivan rock and roll. There was a 10-part rock and roll series that it was just a lot of work. And the offices were in Arnold Colbison Productions offices. Yep. And I mean, talk about like daily drama. I mean, working in Arnold Colbison was as big as it gets at that point. And so constantly they had people like Brad Pitt and whatnot sitting in the lobby waiting to come in and have a meeting with Arnold or his wife Anne, and just the people that worked there always running around, crazy drama constantly. It was a wild 2 years for sure.
It sounds to me like the history I'm hearing so far just laid a perfect foundation for you to move into artist management. You knew all the nuts and bolts behind the business, and probably helped you in securing the best deals for your talent.
Yeah. Well, I think that learning music publishing at Media Rights after already learning the licensing side and how to research a song and learning about song ownership and the value of copyright certainly laid a foundation. And then 2 years later, I went to work for a law firm as a music paralegal, and that pretty much completed the education.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no business getting that music paralegal job. They must have been desperate. I remember I went out and I bought my first suit. I didn't have a suit. I went out and I bought a really nice suit at the Men's Warehouse. And I showed up for the interviews, and I had to interview with 3 attorneys, and these attorneys represented the Rolling Stones and Pearl Jam and just huge Paul Anka, just huge clients. And the interesting part of the job is they only wanted somebody 3 days a week. They didn't think there was enough work for 5 days a week, but they were willing to pay me more than I was making at Media Rights.
And you were
to work 3 days a week.
Wow.
There's a management company called the Fitzgerald Hartley Company that had offices in Nashville and Ventura. So I cold called the Ventura office to see if they had any openings. And there's a guy named David Dillon who took care of publishing for Fitzgerald Hartley for like 15, 20 years. And like a month earlier, he had just left to go take care of the family mortuary business in St. Louis. And so they didn't have anybody taking care of their publishing clients, which was Vince Gill and Toto and Fee Waybill. And, they had some really nice catalogs that they needed somebody to take care of, right? So I made a deal to go down and work in their office 2 to 3 days a week. And then I worked at home in Santa Barbara on the other days. And so I had this work from Hollywood Records and also this, Fitzgerald Hartley publishing work. And so ended up making more money than I was making at Len Friedman. And, it just worked out great. And, working at the management company obviously led to, working in management.
And that's a great company. I know whenever I would buy a Toto album, I would see Fitzgerald Hartley on the back, and they had a management credit back there. Yeah. Or the Tubes, and of course Fee Waybill, and I knew that Vince had a lot of his business from the West Coast. Mm-hmm. So you 3 of my favorite artists right there, and that's an incredible little circle of talent that you suddenly slid into. Yeah, and you were there for how many years?
16 years.
Oh yeah,
Fitzgerald Hartley. I got involved with a band called Big Bad Voodoo Daddy.
Oh, I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have a personal relationship though with them, right? I mean, more than just the fact that you were managing them?
I started placing because Hollywood Records had the Swingers soundtrack. So I went out and I got Big Bad Voodoo Daddy an Acura commercial for their Go Daddy-O song off the Swingers soundtrack, which, they just, the singer, the leader of the band just flipped out. And so we started having conversations about, hey, I can take care of your publishing and I can get you placements. And I ended up getting them a lot more placements. But I was their publisher for 2 years before they fired their manager and asked if I wanted to be their manager through Fitzgerald Hartley. Yeah. And then I managed them until 2015.
Right.
Right on.
Yeah, I ended up taking on Robert Cray in 2004. And he
works a lot. Robert Cray.
He's a legend and works a lot. And
at what point did you pick up Colbie?
So I went to the office, I listened to the music, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. And so I brought it home and I played it, and Laura's like, What is this?
Yeah.
Play that song again. Play that song again. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. So anyway, I chased that and ended up getting it, after a few weeks. And immediately started contacting record labels right at the end of December 2006. Set up 2 days in New York where we went to 8 labels over 2 days, and started fielding offers, and it took like a month and a half. And we had meetings with Jimmy Iovine and Monty and Avery at Republic and Craig Kalman and Julie Greenwald at Atlantic. And we met with everybody. And and I had Jimmy Iovine calling me, and I wasn't taking his calls because I didn't think that she wanted to go with him. She kind of made him nervous, or he made her kind of nervous in the meetings. You have to remember, this girl had no idea. Like, she's like, homeschooled since she was a sophomore, and just just kind of sheltered California girl. Liked her sushi, liked to have burritos, liked to go to the beach, liked to just write songs. She had a good time in the studio. She had no idea like what being a music star would entail. 6 months later, she's on tour with the Goo Goo Dolls, basically after we got that record deal, and she has a song blowing up all over the country, all over the world for that matter, #1 in 10 countries.
Yeah, Colbie she's such a wonderful person. I really like her. She sent this real long email to Robin when we went to Hawaii, to explain where to go and stuff like that. Yeah, she's a wonderful person. I like her a lot.
So where do you see yourself in the next, say, 3 to 5 years? What's on the agenda?
Well, Colbie's got new music coming out next year for the first time in 6 years. New original Colbie music. She did a country band thing, which I managed. They formed in 2018 and put a single out in 2019 and an album in 2020. And then the band broke up. Yeah. It was a lot of work. But it wasn't all for naught, because last month the first single went gold.
Oh, well,
how about that? Okay.
Right. So now we can at least, when we put this new music out and we try to, get on the country playlist, we can say she's got a gold record in country. Yeah. So there's not that many artists who can say they got a gold record they have 8 platinum pop singles and then a gold record in country. There's very few that have succeeded.
That is
crossing over the country.
Right. Yeah.
Last week, Colbie had a viral moment where her song Try, somebody who has 8 million followers, did a video that had Try in the background, and the song went nuts last week. It went absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like,
Republic's calling you saying, well, we got to do this and this and this and this. And we're not even signed to you guys anymore. No, we have to take advantage of this, and
right.
It just exploded, and exploded in China. It's huge in China. And now one of their big artists is going to do it on New Year's Eve, and they just cut a deal with us for that artist to cut it and release it in China.
Wow.
It's crazy the way it all works now. It's
well, if you
fast.
do enough things right, eventually you might get a gift like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what came your way.
Yeah.